Now, folks, if you'll just gather around a little closer now. Come right in a little closer. That's it. That's fine, folks.
All right, let's go, because you know what I came in to do.
I don't get paid for overtime. I'm here to fight.
All right, quickly, let's just get through this quickly. I'm not trying to protect Conor Benn. Conor Benn is a grown man. Conor Benn has his circle and his family. They'll protect Conor Benn. They'll look after him. I'm not trying to protect Conor Benn. I actually wanted Bbboc to win. I'm a Bbboc fan. I've supported Bbboc since the 80s. I wanted Chris to win. Let's start there. I've done 3 or 4 videos on this topic, and not once have I said Conor Benn was innocent. Not once. I tried to give both sides of the narrative, and what can I say? If that's not good enough for you guys, I just don't give a fuck. Now, just because I wasn't trying to burn him at the stake like you wanted me to, doesn't mean I'm protecting him. And for the record, adverse finding is not a dirty test, right? That's why Boxing Social, when they reported what they reported on the story today, they said adverse finding, because if they said he tested positive, they could be in a court getting stripped for everything they have.
Takes everything you've got.
It's slander. I'm not protecting no one. I don't know what's the matter with some of you, man. I don't know what's happening with men these days. They're very charged up. And emotion and passion is good. But the whole let's lynch the pediatrician because you thought he was a paedophile mentality, I'm not with it. You got to do better than that. Critical thinking, people, and clinical language. Adverse finding is not dirty test. And I'm not protecting Conor Benn. You have the option to walk around thinking that the fight got cancelled because of a dirty test. I'm here to tell you the fight got cancelled because of a mole. It's as simple as that. A mole cancelled the fight. The British Boxing Board of Control, from, let's say, 23rd or 25th of September, they knew about the adverse finding. The Hearns knew, Usman knew, Bbboc knew, and obviously Benn knew. And they was deciding how they were going to get around this. Can you prove that Conor has no controversy around his test? They got the lawyers out. They were trying to salvage the event. And if the mole didn't come out, the British Boxing Board of Control were not going to stop this fight. The state of play is it's undecided if he's clean or not. But the fight got cancelled because of a moral reason, not a legal reason.
So I don't know the complete facts in that, but if what them saying as well in the board knew a few weeks ago, then you can't really defend it as to why it even got that far. Did it only get stopped because the Daily Mail revealed it, or what? That's the way it looks like, doesn't it?
They're self-appointed body, the Boxing Board of Control, aren't they? But they are self-appointed to oversee the sport that we cover, which is boxing. The big danger here is that we allow legalese and we allow lawyers to overhaul the morality of this situation.
Did you hear what he said? They were trying to use legalese and lawyers to crowd over the morality of the situation. That's Gareth Davis. And I don't often agree with him, but he worded that perfectly. The morality. It's not a legal issue. It's a moral issue why the fight didn't go ahead. He's not suspended. He still has a British boxing license. Not protecting nobody. I give clinical language. Callie and Eddie spoke to their legal representative and they told them, go get an injunction on the British Boxing Board of Control. What does that mean? That means they would have got the fight overturned. Do you think they're going to take an injunction and it doesn't get overturned? You know why it would get overturned? Because Conor is not suspended. The board did not act on VADA's evidence. They would have had to overturn the fight and it would have went ahead. But either DAZN or Eddie and Callie pulled it because of the long-term damage it would do to Matchroom, DAZN, Wasserman, Channel 5, and anything they've got going on with them entities. That's why they pulled it. Moral. I'm not saying they're morally correct, because they're not. But it was a moral reason, not legal. They pulled out because of PR. I'm protecting Conor. I actually said the fight wasn't going to go ahead. And it didn't. I've always told you guys, there's a reason Al Heyman stays quiet and doesn't talk, and we don't hear him talk. There's a reason for that. When you talk, you become notorious. The notoriety then precedes you. And you can get a lot done because you're vocal. Eddie managed to secure $1 billion deal with DAZN because he's out there really promoting. On the flip side of that, you leave yourself open. And he got exposed this week. He's the most visible promoter out there and he got exposed. Oh, VADA are the top testers. When Billy Joe Saunders got popped for his middleweight challenge against Eddie's fighter, Demetrius Andrade, for the WBO title. Oh, VADA are the top testers. There's no point having all this testing and don't act on the results. And this time around, he wanted the fight to go ahead. Yeah, he got caught. I ain't protecting no one. With power comes responsibility, and because he's the most visible guy, they're not going after the British Boxing Board of Control, and they should, because it's evident now that they had information on the adverse test from the 23rd of September, and they held on to it until the fight got cancelled early October. And they're the governing body. They're supposed to be controlling the sport, not Eddie Hearn. But Eddie, listen, Eddie's got some tough PR to do right now. Contradict himself. Eubank Sr. is making a lot of noise that he's coming after people who tried to murder his son. That's really not helping the reputation of boxing. Eubank Sr.'s fire right now. No, it's not. Eddie looking like a real greedy, fucked up promoter now who wanted to put an injunction on just because the show must go on, even though he's got a boxer in a compromising situation. Not proved dirty, as you want to run with, but in a compromising situation. So he looks like a greedy motherfucker and a hypocrite right now. Understandably, Eddie wasn't happy that Lou DiBella purchased the Boazzi-Pascal fight for Warren to put on BT. He got out of that by saying, oh, I'm not happy to have Boazzi take on Pascal without VADA testing. Now, there was a confusion about what was drafted in the contracts about that or not. And the fight went away. But it's a contradiction. You want VADA testing, but yet, just the other day, you were willing to ignore their rulings to put your fight on. Can he clean it up? No, he doesn't need to clean it up. He needs to put on good fights. The more power you have comes responsibility. You've got to take the hits and just produce big. Some people are saying DAZN should get rid of Eddie. Well, that's their decision. But they know Eddie is not just going to disappear. Eddie's going to land himself another gig. And he's going to do his thing. And he's young enough to learn from his mistakes. And all the people this is the end of Eddie. They're still saying that. It's actually funny now. But, Eddie just moves on. Saturday, he's in Australia. He's got a big card in Australia. Leon Palo versus Brock Jarvis. And there's a big undercard on there. Dempsey McKean, Sky Nicholson, and all the other top Australian prospects on the undercard. So Eddie can't afford to bury his head in the sand and let everybody take shots at him. He moves on. He's getting that passport stamped, and that's what he needs to do. Establish these new territories, who are very well capable of stadium fights and big pay-per-view numbers, and keep going. He didn't pop dirty for the Cloma fame. I'm not going to roll up with a bunch of people online who I don't know on some moral crusade, right? If Eddie and Cali went ahead with the injunction and the fight went ahead, there'd have still been a whole lot of people who are condemning it now who would have bought the pay-per-view, would have kept their ticket, wouldn't have wanted a refund, illegal streams or whatever, and would have watched that fight. They could pretend they're as outraged as what they want to. They would have watched it. And you know what that makes you? A hypocrite. Just like Eddie. No different. There's a lot of people who don't care that Tyson Fury is not doing all he can to fight Usyk in his next fight for 4 belts. All they want to see is him beat up Derek Chisora again and start flag waving that he's better than Ali. It's all PR propaganda. And depending on what side of the divide you stand on, you either buy it or you rubbish it. Remember, he's a drug cheat too. And he's near on top of the game in the heavyweight division. His promoter saying that the fight should have been cancelled. Benn and Eubank. But yet he sat. And I don't care what you want to say in the comment section, right? He was the promoter when Fury tested positive against Christian Hammer, right? And he has promoted Tyson Fury on Box Nation, whether in conjunction with Hennessy or not. He has had part promotion of Tyson Fury. He sat on the Christian Hammer results from February 2015 all the way into the new year after Tyson beat Klitschko, but he didn't cancel the Klitschko fight. Frank Warren held Tyson Fury's hand all through 2016 through that UCAD case. And if you didn't see all that, you shouldn't even be debating me at this point. You're in over your head. Sky have had a lot to say about Eddie Hearn not recognizing the VADA test. But yet, they were part of the team of Eddie Hearn who ignored the UCAD adverse findings with Dillian White. They were privy to the adverse finding before the fight went ahead, but it went ahead on Sky. But Johnny Nelson has a lot to say. So everyone is a hypocrite. Another story broke today that Conor Benn failed a previous test. Now the question is, before the aborted Eubank fight, who tested him? UCAD must have popped him for this earlier claim here. Where was the penalty? Why are we only hearing about this now? This damning claim will expand dramatically not only British boxing inquiries into the controversial last-minute cancellation, but also questions the ability of British boxing authorities, the British Boxing Board of Control, is who they meant to say but they didn't want to say it, to conduct effective drug testing procedures. And that is the bigger story that I've been trying to push. Yeah? Conor Benn is an athlete. He'll be out the game, or he'll be out of contention at world level in 5-6 years or so, maybe even less. But the board will still be here, incompetent, when dealing with PED protocol. If you don't have effective procedures in place to stop these allegations or actual dirty athletes, that's the issue. That is the issue. Nothing has been proven on Conor Benn. It really don't look good for the British Boxing Board of Control. Now, they're saying that he's previously tested positive for what is claimed to be the identical drug which messed up the Bbboc fight, the fertility substance. Now, here's the exact wording of what Eddie Hearn is saying here. He spoke about how the postponement of Bbboc and Benn at the weekend should have awaited confirmation of the fighter's positive A sample. But B tests require a request from the fighter hoping to clear his name. One expert close to the case said this has not happened with Benn, and this is the cause of the delay. You see, they're still awaiting for a positive A sample. He doesn't have a positive A sample. That's why they can't release a B sample, because he doesn't have a positive A. And you guys sound protected. I'm not protecting no one. It's an adverse finding. Clinical language fucks up ignorant people. And if you're ignorant, I am probably a big cause of frustration to you. This ain't difficult for me to follow. But for some of you, it's really difficult. Oh, it's a dirty test. No, it's not. According to VADA, it's not. Now, if you're saying you know more than VADA, you should start your own channel. Start your own agency. You'll put VADA out of business, and you can. Because you're way more advanced than I am. Doesn't mean Conor's dirty. Doesn't mean he's clean. What's up with the testing process? What's up with the British Boxing Board of Control? When VADA started popping a whole heap of people a few years back, I was very skeptical on letting this one agency have a monopoly on testing. Because VADA, oh God, then they're going to save the sport. No. They are just as susceptible to corruption as the athletes who are popping dirty. The other point I'm going to make is, as much as you guys are in love with the Daily Mail now, they're causing a lot of hysteria, but no positive tests. Adverse findings. You cannot release the B sample if you don't have a positive A. You can't release this information. And as much as you love the Daily Mail, should they be causing all this hysteria if all they have is adverse findings? Should they be clout reporting? Because that's what it is. It's clout reporting. So guys like you can get excited, oh, and throw your hands everywhere like, you know, you're really outraged, but you would have watched the fight Saturday regardless if you knew Conor was dirty or not. Now, you want to give over the power to this newspaper and moles. I thought the British Boxing Board of Control. What control? Exactly. British Boxing Board of no control. Letting the nutters run the asylum, basically. They don't even have a decent press outlet to cover their narrative. They got nothing. They're just there like... You let me tell you something, right? You see in the 70s, 60s and 50s and 40s, when you didn't have PED cases, right? This shit was easy for them, right? But this PED shit is moving at such a fast pace, they haven't been able to catch up. And they are so out their depth, it's frightening. They've got newspapers and moles handling a situation they're supposed to be handling. They've been sitting on information like this for ages. And not just this case here with Tyson Fury and Christian Hammer. Dillian and Rivas. Whether adverse findings or guilty. Guilty in Tyson Fury's case. Right? Sitting on information and then waiting for newspapers to come out and say something. And then, oh yeah, we prohibit the fight. What? You are too incompetent to govern the sport. And yes, I'm going to talk to the Italian guy from Bbboc very soon. Exclusive. Dr. Usman was Conor Benn's GP for the aborted Bbboc fight. And people are linking that to Tyson Fury. Dr. Usman is Tyson Fury's doctor as well. And he will also be using Dr. Usman when Fury fights Chisora in December. He also went on a rant, Dr. Usman. 80 to 90% of elite boxers are taking a range of drugs to cheat. He spoke about male menopause and how testosterone replacement therapy can be used to fight it. But his Instagram account and personal website were deleted around October the 4th, just as the news of Benn's failed test was breaking. But Tyson Fury is going to stand by Dr. Usman, who the British Boxing Board of Control are investigating. Tyson Fury told ID Boxing, Usman is a good guy. I've known him for about a year. No, you've known him longer than that. Fury explained that Usman's role in the camp would be that of a personal GP who could help him with anything as simple as a common cold or an injury affecting him. He said, in terms of excuses, I don't really believe them. Athletes know what's going to happen if they fail. He went on to detail how different testing systems work with limited funding and claimed only an idiot gets caught. He said a lot of times in how the drug testing system works, a lot of the fights. He said in the UK, all the testing is urine. You'd have to be an idiot to fail the test in England because urine testing is just 72 hours. Most drugs are out of your system within 3 days. You would have to take drugs 2 to 3 days before you fight. The urine test is after a fight, whereas the one that trips up a lot of athletes is if you sign a random drug testing, which WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, do. They will track you where you are and can turn up to your house whenever and do a blood test. With a blood test, they can catch things that have been there a month. However, you can get around a random drug testing between the hours of 11 and 7 a.m. They are not allowed to come to your house. A lot of athletes can take fast-acting testosterone or growth hormones, which can only be in your body for 7 to 8 hours. You can take it at 9, 10 p.m. and it will be out of your system by 7 a.m. There's ways to get around it, a lot of tricks. I'm going to be consistent like I always am. There's nothing to condemn him legally, but he seems to know a lot on how to dodge around doping protocol. That's all I can say. And there will be a certain sect of boxers who will seek him out because he obviously knows a lot more and he'll be able to help them achieve the type of results in training camp that they desire. Eddie, naturally, is fighting for his fighter and fighting for his reputation. He says that information will come out that will make people change their mind on Conor. And I'm not going to read the whole article, I'm just going to read this bullet point here. It says, and now we leave all the information in the hands of Conor Benn's lawyers, who has a big fight on his hands. And you will see a lot of information come to light where I believe you will change your mind.